I will now call to order the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of Texas Southmost College District. Trustees present tonight are Ms. Rosemary Breedlove, Ms. Dolly Zimmerman, Dr. Roberto Robles, Mr. Eduardo Campirano, and I believe Mr. Oliveira is out of town, and also present is Dr. Juliet Garcia. At this time, I'm going to ask Dr. Garcia to make some announcements. Thank you.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce a video that you're going to have the enjoyment of watching, and to introduce one of our own, Mr. Eduardo Rodriguez, who is a recent recipient of a very prestigious award bestowed on him, and I think then therefore on us, because he is one of our hometown heroes. Eduardo Rodriguez is a partner in the Brownsville law firm of Rodriguez, Colvin, Cheney, and Sines. He's also the president of our university's development board and has been a very good friend of our community university. But he was honored for neither of those things in Austin. What he was honored for was being a good apple by the other attorneys that are members of the Good Apple, Texas Appleseed, they call it, Association, which honors attorneys that have provided pro bono service and become advocates for those who often don't have advocacy to their benefit. So I'd like to share with you the video that was presented on Mr. Rodriguez at the awards. They were held in Austin at the Four Seasons Hotel, and it was quite an event.
Eduardo Roberto Rodriguez, the sixth of Amador and Alicia's 7 children, was born on November the 13th, 1943, in Edinburgh, Texas. Weighing less than 4 pounds, he was given a nickname, and to this day, many still call him Pee-wee. Amador, who worked for Hidalgo County, and Alicia, the local director of the Head Start program, raised a close-knit family, stressing community involvement, especially with their church. So Pee-wee grew up serving as an altar boy. He worked selling newspapers at age 8 and managing a convenience store in high school. As a sophomore in high school, Eduardo wrote Congressman Joe Kilgore asking to be a page in the U.S. House of Representatives. But all the jobs were filled. His junior year, he won a summer trip to the United Nations and returned to be the student council president as a senior. He dreamed of working for the FBI and was told he had to lose 30 pounds. So he lived on boiled eggs, steak, and vegetables for a whole month, but didn't get the job. So when he graduated from high school, he had no future plans. But then, on July 15th, he got a letter from Congressman Kilgore offering a chance to be an elevator operator for the U.S. Congress. He quickly bought a coat and tie and was in Washington by August 1st. Living only blocks from the Capitol in a boarding house with 4 other pages, Pee-wee took the trolley to George Washington University to study international affairs. Eduardo was one of only 2 graduates in his class to leave Texas, and it was truly a life-changing opportunity. Every day he saw legendary figures like Sam Rayburn, John McCormick, and Henry B. Gonzalez. During the times of the Cuban Missile Crisis and the Kennedy assassination, the passing of the Civil Rights Act, and the War on Poverty. He heard Martin Luther King give his I Have a Dream speech in person. In 1964, he graduated and entered law school at the University of Texas, finishing in February of 1968. In his senior year, Dean Page Keaton arranged an interview with Texas Appeal Court Justice T. Gilbert Sharp. In March of 1968, Pee-wee joined the only law firm he has ever worked for, Hardy & Sharp, now Rodriguez, Colvin, Cheney, and Sines. There, his mentor, Benjamin Hardy, insisted that Pee-wee become Eduardo, and the young Mr. Rodriguez took the back office, which he kept for 25 years, even after he became the senior partner. Finally, they remodeled the old Brownsville County Jail, and Pee-wee moved into his current jail cell office. The last thing Pee-wee's father asked of him was to hold their family together, which is something that he took very seriously. Eduardo was the father of 3 small children at the time, and practicing law in Brownsville allowed him to live 5 minutes from work and do the same work as big city lawyers. So he attended baseball, football, and basketball games as Michael, Patrick, and Melanie grew up, coaching many of their teams, something that he counts among his greatest achievements. Family life extends to work as well. Many members live within blocks of each other, and even though several of the lawyers are actually related, it is the camaraderie shared by everyone in the firm that has created a sort of working family in the old jail. Since long before Eduardo joined the firm, it represented the Union Pacific Railroad, and over the years its list of clients have included many Fortune 500 companies. He enjoys the challenge of defending such clients as Ford, Exxon, GM, and Volkswagen in what is often thought of as a plaintiff's venue. True to the teaching of his parents, Eduardo has devoted huge amounts of his time and talents to many other organizations, ranging from the Gladys Porter Zoo to the Driscoll Foundation, and he currently serves as the chairman of the UT Brownsville Foundation Board. But his service to the legal profession is what we really celebrate tonight. At the urging of Mr. Hardy, Eduardo became involved with the bar when he was elected to the board of the Texas Young Lawyers in the 1970s. Over the years, he has served on a number of committees and boards at the State Bar and at the ABA. Then, in 2005, he was elected the second Hispanic president of the Texas State Bar, where he worked to improve the image of the profession and to encourage diversity. Eduardo believes that lawyers have a responsibility to society. He has twice traveled to Washington to help the Texas Legal Services Corporation get funding and is currently active in the Wingspread movement, helping schools and bar organizations increase diversity and the image of lawyers with young people. Because for Eduardo Rodriguez, lawyers are role models with an obligation to give back to their profession and their community. And no one has set a better example than the giant of a man called Pee Wee.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to invite Mr. Rodriguez to say a couple of words.
Thank you, Madam President and Board of Trustees and guests. It was truly an humbling experience to have been awarded the Good Apple Award. I was shocked when I was called that I had been nominated and had been selected. But basically, one doesn't do the things that I've had the opportunity to do without the help of many people, as all of you know, and as you young people know. And it starts out with our family and our parents and our brothers and sisters. My brothers and sisters were very instrumental in supporting me as I grew up and in being role models themselves. Two of my brothers became presidents of their state organizations as well, and I was lucky to be able to do the same in the bar. And then as I started practicing, my firm was very instrumental in allowing me to do some of the things that I've done. And then when I ran for president, I was lucky to have Ms. Paula. I had to campaign across the state in law offices, and she made sure that every time I was in the law office asking for a vote that I smiled, because I tend not to smile. But she was very instrumental in all of the things that we did, and was with me as we went across the state. And I brought a message to lawyers all across the state about the necessity to diversify and the importance of improving the numbers of diverse students in the law schools and in our legal profession. We're only 14% lawyers diverse lawyers in the state out of 87,000, and our population, as you know, is 50% now minority. And so I was able to to go and speak to that issue and bring it to Beaumont and to Midland and to Odessa and to Fort Worth and in the heart of and before lawyers who wouldn't even consider it and so forth. And being president gave me the opportunity to do that. It also gave me the opportunity to speak to many young people and many law students and college students. And the one thing that I have, the message that I gave to them and that I pass to you young people is that when you leave college, you have a responsibility. You've been blessed however you made it through college, through the help of your parents, through loans, or through whatever means gets you through. You've been blessed. And when you finish, you've got to go out and you've got to return to your community and be a role model. Be a leader in your community to improve and leave the world a better place than what you started. And so I was able to do that. And also I got to speak to many of the minority lawyer or law student associations, and one of the things that I stressed with them is that we need to become part of the majority. We can't be satisfied by being part of the Black Students Association or the Black Lawyers Association or the Hispanic Lawyers Association. If you want to be a participant and you want to be able to be active in all of the things, you've got to be active in the majority bar, and you've got to be willing to go and work. And so I was able to do that, and I've been blessed. And Dr. Garcia and I have been friends for many years, and so I've been on the development board since we started, and I've been president this year. We had a very successful distinguished speaker lecture series this year, but we're ready to move on to other things. And I noticed on your agenda tonight you have an item on the new music building that we're very anxious for our campus, for our community, and we hope that you all will approve. And I know that it's going to be a risk on your part, that we'll be able to raise the money, but I'm here to tell you that the development board will stand behind Dr. Garcia, and together with your help and the development board and our community, we will raise the funds in the next 2 years to be able to complete get the funds necessary to complete that building. And thank you all very much for this honor that you bestowed on me this afternoon.
Thank you, Eddie. Let me just add a brief comment. I know Eddie, as we call him, from the courthouse. Our lawyers know who he is, and he is a much respected litigator, very, very good attorney. But the quality that Eddie has is that he is a true gentleman in court. Now, and it appears that the young lawyers tend to lose focus of that word. It's not about who yells the loudest or who's in your face the quickest in court. It's who can verbalize his client's position in a gentlemanly fashion, and Eddie is known to do things like that. He's a peer to all other lawyers like myself, and it's no mistake that all the accolades that he's received in his life has been because of his ability to be a true gentleman. And so, Eddie, I say that with much respect that I bestow on you, sir, is that you are a role model for my generation. You have been, and I hope that the young lawyers learn from you and that you continue doing the good things that you do at the courthouse. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Rodriguez for attending the meeting tonight, and Paula for joining us. We really appreciate all the support that you've given us and continue to give to our community. I have one other announcement to make tonight. So it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Vince Solis. Vince, if you'll come forward, our Assistant Vice President for Student Development. And he'll brief us on a national award that was just bestowed on our university.
Good evening, Dr. Garcia,
Yes.
Chairman Gonzalez, guests. Tonight it's my privilege and my pleasure to introduce a very special group of individuals, students, and staff. But before I introduce these individuals, I'd like to take some time to tell you a little bit about them. Our UTB-TSC chess team is currently ranked 2nd in the state, 7th in the country, tied with Yale and Harvard in those positions respectively. It's a pleasure working with this group day in and day out. Among this group of students, you're going to find the current national collegiate chess champion. You're going to find representatives from 4 different Olympic teams, which include Mexico, Paraguay, Colombia, and Peru. You're going to find a Scorpion Scholar. You'll also find a player who passed up a full ride to another institution to come play chess for us. You'll find members of local teams that have won several Texas state championships. You'll also find the captain for the Peruvian female Olympic national team. We also have the winner and a first place tie for the 2007 absolute female chess champion in all of Mexico. The accolades of this group aren't limited just to the chess sport. The combined efforts of their coach and the students resulted in over 1,800 contacts of community service with local chess coaches, students, individualized practices, many community service projects, and the list goes on and on. As a result of the work done by the students, our coach, and our program director, this year they have been selected as the 2007 Collegiate Chess Institution of the Year by the U.S. Chess Federation. There have been 2 individuals, Dr. Garcia, Chairman Gonzalez, that I'd like to recognize for the work that they've done, which is Coach Hernandez and Mr. Russell Harwood, which are going to come up and introduce the students. But just to give you a little bit of background, Coach Hernandez has recently been selected as the GM of Honor for the 2007 K-12 Collegiate National Chess Championships, and he is also the current Texas State Chess Champion. So he's a great coach. He's also the top-rated player in Mexico for the past 12 years.
Not bad.
Spearheading the efforts of the group, Mr. Russell Harwood was recently selected as the head of the U.S. delegation for the North American Chess Championships in Aguascalientes, Mexico. He has also been selected to serve as the keynote speaker for 2 major chess in education conferences. And through the work of these 2 individuals and the results of our chess team, we have managed to garner the attention of media outlets such as CBS Evening News and Texas Monthly. Dr. Garcia, Chairman Gonzalez, it's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Russell Harwood and Coach Gilberto Hernandez.
Good evening, Chairman Gonzalez, Dr. Garcia, members of the board. Thank you for inviting us here. We are extremely proud of our chess program here at UTB-TSC. We couldn't accomplish what we've accomplished without the support of our bosses, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Martin, obviously the board, and we really appreciate everyone's support. We're very proud of our students. I don't know if you'd like me to introduce them or if you want them to introduce themselves.
Either way.
Okay.
Have them come on up.
Okay, come on up, please.
Not too shabby. The shirt's on.
Okay, I'm going to tell you their names and let them come up and introduce themselves very quickly. Mr. Arturo Gracia.
Hi, my name is Arturo Gracia. But I'm a biology major. This is my second year here, and that's about it.
Where did you go to school?
I used to go Hannah High School.
Hannah High School. Thank you, sir.
Arturo's brother, Alan Gracia, who is a Scorpion scholar, by the way.
Hello, I'm Alan Gracia. I graduated from Hannah High School. I'm a freshman, biology major.
Right.
Mr. Javier Nieto.
Hello, my name is Javier Nieto. I'm a computer science major. It's my third year here in the college. From Matamoros. I'm from Matamoros.
Mr. Joseph Molina.
Hello, I'm Joseph Molina. I'm from Brownsville. I graduated from Porter High School, and I'm a business management major, and I'm a senior.
Mr. Eric Vallerino.
Oh, Eric.
Good afternoon. Eric Vallerino. I think I'm a familiar face in here. From Mexico City. This is my last year in the program. I will be graduating with a master's in physics, hopefully, next spring.
Our next player, Nelly Estrada, is a woman candidate master, and she just recently tied for first place in the Female National Championship of Mexico.
Good afternoon. My name is Nelly Estrada. I'm from Ciudad Juárez, Chihuahua, Mexico, and I'm a biology major, and this is my senior year, and I would like to thank you all for your support and for everything that you do to help our team to succeed and us as students. Thank you.
Our next player is woman international master Nadia Ortiz.
Good afternoon. My name is Nadia Ortiz. I'm from Colombia, and I'm very grateful with the UTB for giving me this opportunity for the scholarship, and I hope to do my best for every tournament that I play.
One of our newest players, a woman international master, Luciana Morales.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am from Peru. My name is Luciana Morales, and I would like to take this opportunity to say thanks to all of you for the support for the team, and particularly I am very grateful myself for I'm here majoring at government and communication, and for being part of this successful chess team. And well, thank you.
From San Antonio, Texas, Jesse James Lozano.
Thank you. I'm Jesse James Lozano. I'm from San Antonio. I won a full ride to another college, but I chose this one because I like the members and people on the team. I graduated from South San and undeclared. Thank you.
Before I introduce the last member, I would like to recognize we have two members who aren't here. They had 545 classes and they had tests in their classes. So Mr. Vincent Flores and International Master Daniel Fernandez. Daniel is currently the individual U.S. collegiate champion. So they're in class. Also, I'd like to recognize real quickly a member of our team who has just graduated in the spring, and this is one of the things we're really proud about. Mr. Luis Roy Gomez is now teaching second grade at Hudson Elementary and coaching their chess team, and they have been having great success. So that's one of the things that we're really proud of, is when our students start giving back to the community. So we're real happy, proud of Luis. Okay, the last member I'd like to introduce, This is a really exciting time for the UTB chess program and the team. Last weekend, Gilberto took 3 of our players up to Austin for an individual tournament, and one of our players, Mr. Axel Bachmann, who's a international master from Paraguay, won first place. Well, that victory gave him enough rating points to where Axel will now be attaining the title of Grand Master, which is the highest title in chess and held by fewer than 1,000 people in the world. Axel just turned 18 3 weeks ago.
Hello everyone, I'm Axel Bachmann from Ciudad del Este, Paraguay, and I want to say thank you everyone to give me the opportunity to be studying here, and thanks to my teammates, the coach, Rusty, everyone, because I'm really happy. This is really emotional, and I just thank you very much.
Thank you.
Before we leave, we would like to present you all, hot off the press, our new chess T-shirts, which recognizes the Accomplishment 2007 Chess College of the Year.
Mr. Chairman, may I just say we are so proud of each and every one of you students. It's so nice to see all you women. I, as a woman, is extra proud to see that, and we thank you so very much, and good luck. Thank you all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much.
We'll wear
If this will make me smart, I will wear it.
What did she say?
This will make me smart, I'll wear it. Never take it off.
That's all.
I'm going to wear it to school.
Well, I remember when this chess team started out with first with 2 and then 6, I think, was the first team, and now it feels like it's just exploded. It's particularly gratifying to see local students playing with international students. It is wonderful. It enriches us all to have, speaking of diversity, to have this diversity on our campus, and this grand opportunity for all of you to excel in your own lives, to teach others, and to have such impact in our community, to learn how to do that, and then to achieve such great things. You have the trajectory that you have taken our university in such a short period of time is extraordinary. I tell your story everywhere I go. I know you know that. But what is most wonderful is when I walk up to someone and I'll say, have I told you about, and they say, yes, we've heard about the chess team. You're famous, and you're making us famous along with you because you are smart. We are all thought to be smart like you. And so that is wonderful. That'll translate and give us tremendous advantage in the future. Thank you for the gifts that you give us, and thank you for excelling. And Axel, we're as proud as you as you are. Felicidades a todos. Muchas gracias. True, the president told me.
Rocky.
That's right. I will tell you that I will only say this in Brownsville, but the UT Dallas won the national chess tournament, and where we came in sandwiched between Harvard and Yale, and the chess coach from UT Dallas was told by their president, I want UT Dallas to become Chess College of the Year. Well, they didn't become Chess College of the Year. In fact, UT Brownsville became Chess College. So no small feat for the Cinderella team. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
That concludes my announcements.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia. The board will now convene into executive sessions provided by Government Code 551.074. Thank you. Thank you. The board will now convene into regular session. We go to item number 2, which is the appointment of a trustee to fill a vacancy on the board. At this time, the board will hear nominations to fill place 1, which was vacated by Mr. Roman Dino Esparza a few months ago. The person appointed to place 1 will serve until the next scheduled election, which is May 2008, at which time that person may choose to run to fill the remaining 2 years of the term. So, is there a motion?
A motion that we appoint Jose Herrera as our next trustee to fill this Dino Esparza's position.
Okay, the motion has been made by Dr. Robles. There's a second by Ms. Breedlove. Are there any other discussions in this item? No? Then I ask you to signal your vote by yes or nay. All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
All opposed? None? Motion carries. Item 3 is the approval of minutes of the previous October 25th meeting. I'd ask that you look at the meeting and then present a motion to accept or amend.
Chairman, I move we accept the minutes as presented.
Motion's been done by Mr. Campirano, second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
Any discussion? No? All opposed? None? Motion carries. Item 4 is speakers to agenda items and public discussion. Ms. Claudia, do we have speakers? Is that Aston Clark? Alan Clark. Would you step forward, sir, please, and address the board?
Members of the board, Dr. Garcia, members of our esteemed audience who clap for me, and I'd like to tell you how excited we are tonight to address this group, more because of our plans and our hopes for the future than anything else. We have really had great news recently. I want to start out by letting you know that we have just received full accreditation from the National Association of Music Schools. This only happens once in 20 years. When the first time you come up for review that we're granted full accreditation, it's a wonderful honor. It means that we adhere to the highest standards in the United States for music schools, and that every student who graduates from here can claim that they have gone to a fully accredited music school with a great education in their background. And I think we really need to acknowledge there are a number of us here tonight that I certainly would be remiss if I didn't recognize. Would all the members in support of our activities tonight, would you please stand and be recognized? Students, wave your hands.
Yes, everybody.
We have great hopes, and I would like to talk to you about several things that we have held in great hope for the future. We desperately need this facility. This facility will be one that will be unequaled in South Texas and will be among the best in Texas when it's completed. We went to great lengths to go to every hall that we heard about, every one that we have visited ourselves. We went to many different places, and we held dialogues with just about everybody we could find as to what was good about their facility and what didn't work about their facility. We gathered information over a period of 7 years, or even more in some cases, and we talked to many consultants, as well as collaborating with the fine architects that you all selected for us to work with. We talked to everybody, and we came up with some great ideas that just about everybody who's heard of them has been excited. We're noticing that we're getting calls from all the directors in the Valley, all the music teachers, wanting to know when we're going to be in line. It's interesting to note that as of today, we've been contacted by no less than 4 different tour groups wanting to book our new facility in 2010. They've heard about it, they're excited about it, and they want us to consider them to have their festivals in May. We expect this building to attract some 8,000 plus kids from the high schools around this area a year. We expect it to have all of the University Interscholastic League competitions pretty much moved into it. With the design that it has, it offers a unique opportunity to bring equipment in and not get rained on, having enough room to hold a great organizational contest for kids to come in, and when they come in and see a place like this, it's going to occur to them that this may be the logical choice to come to school, and that's what we want. Already we are attracting many, many students a year with the exciting news that we're having in the music department. Since 2004, we've just about tripled the number of music majors, and we expect to double that by 2010 when this finishes. We've got a huge operation going on recruiting, and this would be the feather in our cap. This, I believe, would bring more students to this campus than just about anything else. Not to mention that it will be the most heavily visited building on this campus for years to come. Everybody who comes here is going to see this building and be proud of what they see. We are also expecting the recruitment to go into our master's program. We're getting more and more calls from band directors who want to come back and work on their master's degree. Music teachers want to come back because of the money incentive and just the fact that the morale is so high at our campus with our teachers and our students that we're really beginning to attract an august group. We hear from them all the time. Our master's degree is in place and underway. We do have a lot of people who are expressing interest. We're designing it so that they can work and go to school and have a great experience and get out with a quality master's degree. We're excited. This building would help that. We've been asked to host already a very prestigious national group. It's the College Music Society from the South Central region, and they want to do that also in 2010. The word is spreading. We're also, in our NASM document, our fine group of people who worked on that created a document that was second to none. And in fact, when Dr. Urbish was interviewed by the NASM Uppers administration, they asked if they could use that document for others to use as a resource so that future people would have a better chance of being recommended for full accreditation. So many great things are happening here. We're excited with what we see. We expect to have a huge enrollment. And what we would like to do is open the doors to a great auditorium with a great facility, with everybody in our town saying this is the best we've seen, and we're so very proud of the leadership that UTB has offered. I'd like to consider, please, that you pass tonight our item number 9, and I thank you for the time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Mr. Alan Brumley.
Chairman Gonzalez, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Dr. Garcia, Dr. Martin, faculty, staff, students, guests. I am a resident of Harlingen, and I wanted to come here and speak briefly. I certainly want to honor your time. I am a recent past board member of the Harlingen Consolidated Independent School District. I suppose that makes me a has-been. But in saying that, it's certainly maybe not as prestigious a board as yours, but one that is very similar in nature. And sitting on that board for 9 years, I encountered many decisions such as you consider this evening. Right as I came onto the board, we opened a new facility that was deficient from the day its doors opened. And as a board member and as a group, we suffered those consequences for years to come until we could make amends it's my understanding in your consideration of the new music building that there is a budget overage that must be considered and addressed, which I greatly appreciate and understand. But may I tell you, when we opened that facility and it was deficient, and then the deficiencies were addressed, those additions cost double what it would have cost had we done the full facility in the first place. And so I would want to encourage you, as your honoree, Mr. Rodriguez, did tonight, to have faith that the monies needed will be there, and that the students you serve through the construction of that building will bring considerable honor and esteem to this university. I've not been greatly involved with the university until I was asked to be a part of your Futures Commission, and I loved being involved. Since then, I've become more acquainted, as my wife is your Director of Choral Music Activities and has appeared and spoken in front of this very board. I've come to respect greatly what happens at this institution, and I just want to tell you that the other end of Cameron County is behind what you're doing, but the great value in doing what I hope you will do tonight is that you will help diversify this campus. And with diversity comes success and more recognition. We're drawing students from San Antonio. We heard one of our chess players this evening. We've got students here from Laredo, from McAllen, from Harlingen, and there's a student in the percussion studio from Los Angeles. The more and more this happens, the greater and greater the university will become and the greater the recognition. So once again, I encourage you to build the music building as it's been designed and take care of the entire department. You'll not be sorry. And I appreciate once again your time and your commitment.
Thank you, sir. Thank you both, Mr. Clark, Mr. Brumley, for your comments. We move on to item number 5, is the board briefing on the Bravo Opera Company's 10th anniversary, and this is going to be Dr. Charles Dameron.
Chairman Gonzalez, President Garcia, members of the board, tonight we have the opportunity to celebrate the remarkable accomplishments of our own Bravo Opera Company. 10 years ago, what had been a dream of bringing opera to our community became a reality, thanks to the determination of the faculty of the music program and the enthusiastic participation of its students. Under the enlightened leadership of their director, Amy Brownlow, the Bravo Opera Company has delighted Brownsville audiences year after year. 2 weeks ago, the Bravo Opera Company held its 10th anniversary gala performance. Now I would like to introduce the company's director, Amy Brownlow, who has a presentation for the board. Thank you.
Good evening. After a year of careful planning, the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company celebrated its 10-year anniversary on Saturday, November 17th at Setby Lecture Hall. The opera class began in the fall of 1996 and has continued to grow with every passing year. We have done over 20 productions and have grown from 8 members to over 30. Opera class has never been an exclusive enrollment. It is open to anyone who has a passion for the opera stage. The members range from vocal majors to business majors.
It is all-inclusive. The 10-year celebration began with our very own UTB-TSC orchestra playing the Polovetzian dances from Prince Igor, an opera by Alexander Borodin. Under the direction of Marta Placeres, the ensemble literally terraced into the audience. This outstanding group has not been in existence very long, but it has grown incredibly fast and has truly outgrown the stage area of the lecture hall. I am sure the people in the front row have a new respect for the violin section. News travels quickly when it is extraordinary. Following the orchestra, we had a surprise announcement from Dr. Juliet Garcia. As you probably know by now, and we just heard from several music professors, we earned our accreditation from the National Association of Schools of Music, and like Mr. Clark said, most schools have to do this presentation over and over and resubmit. We got it on our very first try. So this announcement really got the celebration off to a very good start. When we began to plan for the celebration, we quickly realized that we had several objectives that we must accomplish. As you see here, we wanted to honor community patrons, showcase former opera company members who have chosen opera as their careers, and introduce current members who show potential as opera singers. Finally, we wanted to congratulate ourselves and have a little fun in the process. Throughout history, opera has always relied on a patronage system. That is, members of the community who help monetarily to allow such an elaborate form of entertainment to exist. James and Gloria Zellerbach are Brownsville's local patrons who believe in the arts and the beauty of opera, and from the very first performance have given time, money, and assistance to the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company. Jim filmed the very first performance with his sophisticated equipment and produced a lovely video for us to treasure. I have a wonderfully complete archive of the last 10 years thanks to his time and devotion to the art. Jim has also assisted in the purchasing of lighting, sets, props, and costumes. Without the help of such fine community members as the Zellerbachs, full productions would not be possible. We honored Jim and Gloria Zellerbach with a special plaque, gifts, and roses. But of course, that never seems like enough. Next, we honored another outstanding community member and the association of which he is president, who has been of great assistance to the opera and the arts in Brownsville. George Ramirez of the Brownsville Society for the Performing Arts has done a tremendous amount for the opera. Last spring, as you may recall, we presented our community outreach to the board. It is because of people like George Ramirez that we have been able to perform the opera Hansel and Gretel every year since 2003 for the city of Brownsville, and in particular the Buena Vida neighborhood children. Also, we have been able to take these wonderful performances out to the schools of Brownsville where many children are able to see an opera for the first time. Mr. Ramirez provides labor and transportation for all of the sets, props and costumes, and electronic equipment that accompanies these productions. With his donations, we are able to make some easy-to-transport sets that can travel from school to school. Recently, we were approached by the Upper Valley about our opera outreach, demonstrating what a great success we have had and how this genre of music is in demand for the youth of our area. Finally, we recognized and remembered a revered colleague and pianist for the opera class, Mary Annette James. Annette, a graduate of TSC when she was 69 years old, passed away this summer. She was my college classmate in the year 1985 when I graduated high school and started my music education studies right here at TSC. Annette then became a colleague when they hired her to play for the opera class. She was a faithful accompanist for the company for 8 years. Sadly, I received a phone call one morning of her passing. Her family immediately told me that all monetary donations would go to the Bravo Opera Company, as well as her baby grand piano, which now is in the opera room with her photo on top of it. We are fortunate to have known Annette these many years. Kristen Ezel, former UTB-TSC Bravo opera member, came to us from Harlingen. She had planned to stay one semester and ended up staying an entire year. It was here at our university that she was introduced to opera. At her audition into the company, I immediately knew that I was listening to a future opera star if she wanted to pursue such a career. She was actually undecided at the time. Kristen said she was in the right place at the right time coming to UTB-TSC Music Department. Now a resident of New York City, Kristen has at the age of 25 already made her Carnegie Hall debut. She continues to give this institution credit for her start in opera. And when I contacted her to be a part of the 10-year anniversary celebration, she was honored and agreed without hesitation. Michael Callis, founding member of the opera company, was in the very first production at the young age of 16. Michael was part of a dual enrollment program that we had begun with the Lopez Fine Arts Academy. He already aspired to be an opera singer, so he jumped at the opportunity to participate at the university level. Michael, who has just completed a season with the Boston Lyric Opera and resides in New York, is always quick to give credit to where he got his start. He feels as though he was able to compete at a high level due to his experiences with the UTB-TSC Fine Arts Department and the Bravo Opera Company. Both Michael and Kristen are both anxiously awaiting the new performance venue. Both have promised to return for homecoming concerts for the institution where they both got their start. These are our future artists. Megan Pitcock and Michael Espinosa are both aspiring singers in the music department. Megan was a semifinalist last spring in the prestigious National Association of Teachers of Singing competition, and Michael won second place in his division. These two students exhibit great operatic potential and both look forward to the continued pursuit of music and education. George Flores and Cristina Cabrera were featured performers in our outreach program this year. Both singers have shown exceptional growth in their music abilities and are seeking roles in our spring performance. Vicky Camacho and Aaron Wiley are our Hansel and Gretel duo. They have done countless performances of this opera for thousands of children in Brownsville. Both had lead roles in the production of Die Fledermaus last spring and are interested in pursuing singing careers upon graduation. Alfonso Gonzalez is a junior and shows incredible operatic potential. He has been featured in many of the operatic productions in only his 5th semester. He had lead roles as early as his freshman year. Something like this is unheard of in most music programs. Alfonso took second place at the National Association of Teachers of Singing competition last spring and plans to return and take first place this spring. We would like to play an excerpt of Mr. Gonzalez from the Opera Gala anniversary evening to highlight the incredible talent that we have right here on our campus. Alfonso is here tonight. Will you stand up, Alfonso? And on piano, you heard Dr. Kenneth Saxon accompanying Alfonso in that recording. The 10-year anniversary celebration was a wonderful evening, a chance for us to look back at what we have accomplished in 10 short years, and also a chance for us to look forward to the future. One thing that is certain is that the UTB-TSC Bravo Opera Company is an institution that is here to stay. It is quite evident from the growth and popularity of the opera over the last 10 years that more of the same is to come. Over the last 2 years, we have had to begin to turn away audience members because the Set B lecture hall becomes filled to capacity. In fact, at the anniversary celebration, we had to turn away some 60 to 70 patrons. This reminds me of that very first performance 10 years ago in the little band hall when we also had to turn away dozens of people. This kind of growth in both talent and audience makes me very excited for the future. It makes me wonder what our 20th anniversary celebration will be like. I just want to add a personal note to all of this. I grew up here in Brownsville when there was no such opportunities for public school or university students. Through my studies here at TSC and at UT Austin, and later in opera programs in Europe and the U.S., I have grown to love opera and the joy it can bring to people. I am so happy now that I have given something back to my community and have provided opportunities to both studying and enjoying opera. It has been a dream come true to me, and Ms. Rodriguez said it earlier about giving something back, and that has been very special to do. So thank you for allowing me to present here tonight. We are going to further your wardrobe with your very own commemorative T-shirt of our 10-year anniversary. Thank you very much. There's all different sizes, so just have your pick. If I can answer any questions at this time, I would be happy to address that. Yes, when you wear those T-shirts, it makes you an opera singer. Yes, ma'am.
Happened to be there at the 10th anniversary with Dr. Garcia, and when I walked in, it was standing room only, and there was students sitting on the floor, on the aisles, against the wall. It was packed. And,
yes, sir. In fact, I believe we had to find you a seat, didn't we?
Thank you very much. Dr. Stephen Chen back there was kind enough to find a seat for my wife and I. But I thought the opera was awesome. It was great to see our students singing in Italian, in French, in German, English, all the different languages, and I congratulate all of you for a fantastic job. Thank you.
Very much. We have a few of our opera students here tonight. If you all would stand up and show yourselves. We were very excited to be able to come.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, may I?
Yes.
Could we continue the music theme, since a lot of folks are here for item 9, and just move item 9 up to now?
Oh, okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
a great idea.
Okay.
Moving on to item number 9 is the Physical Facilities Subcommittee report. Mrs. Breedlove.
The Physical Facilities Subcommittee met on November 19th, and the TSC board members present were Eddie Campirano, Dr. Roberto Robles, and myself. Our chairman, Chester Gonzalez, was also present. We had a lengthy discussion regarding the guaranteed maximum price of the music hall building, as there was it was significantly higher than the original cost estimate. Before I make the motion, I would like to ask Dr. Garcia to discuss the possible funding sources for increased cost of the music hall building. Dr.
Thank you,
Garcia?
Mrs. Breedlove. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the fact that our students can go home earlier if they would like after this item, Mr. Campirano. Thank you for your consideration. The Music Hall project began in the fall of 2005 with the work of the Campus Advisory Committee. The members of that committee included Suzanne Erbish, Alan Clark, Art Brownlow, and Terry Tomlin. The committee worked diligently to prepare for this new facility that would alleviate the need for space for some of these growing programs. Mr. Clark was right in reminding us that actually it began years before that, unofficially, as we had begun to dream about this project almost a decade ago. The committee worked very diligently through the process. We learned about the requirements for the teaching and the performing of music. Studio Red architects were then selected for the project. They were hired because they specialize in music halls and theater designs to serve the needs of this music program. The Board of Trustees also became involved in the process through the Board Bond Advisory Committees. They began to learn about each of the projects by traveling to see different kinds of representative spaces designed by the architect Studio Red. In August of 2006, several members of the board toured facilities in Houston that inspired the board to then expand the existing program of the music building, education building facility and to a larger construction project. Since then, the architects have been working diligently to continue the process within the timeline established at the beginning of the bond program. We now have received a guaranteed maximum price from Skanska, the contractor the board selected in May of 2006. The board received a briefing on the project at the retreats, 2 of which were held this year. We have asked Mr. Pete Ed Garrett from Studio Red to give us an overview of the project. Pete has been a theater architect for 29 years in performing arts facilities across the United States. He has 40 theater projects built, ranging from 100 seats up to 3,000-seat opera houses. He's presently involved with 6 theater spaces on university campuses for different music departments. It's my pleasure to introduce to you our architect, Mr. Pete Ed Garrett.
Thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here today because we've been together for 23 months. And those 23 months is very typical for these kind of complex theater projects. But I'm here today to say we're very near ready to start construction. We've got a very custom, uniquely designed facility, uniquely designed for all of the needs that Texas Southmost College needs to have, working with, interviewing all of the staff, all the departments in the music and theater departments, students, the facilities and operations, and also understanding and knowing what the community arts groups are in need of here in the city of Brownsville. So we have a very strategically specific building for this campus and would not fit other places because of the unique coordination and designing together with the staff here. It will also become an enrichment gift back to the community where we have now created a second venue on campus that the community could use as cultural arts groups could come and let this facility be the possible resident home for their presentations and performances. So very strategic that when we did go to 800 seats, that it was a very nice niche that fits within the city, does not compete, and actually complements and enhances the revenues that can be generated out of Jacob Brown, as well as now we have a second facility that can be considered for bookings and revenue generations back into the campus itself. Looking at ready to start construction, we have a GMP, comparing those numbers in an apples-to-apples comparison with all the other similar theatrical facilities across the United States. We're right in there, equal to the same dollars that other campuses or municipalities are building. So we've had a good 23 months of design and documentation and building coordination and ready to start. The first part of our project, about 23 months or 2 years, was really just program definition. What are the actual needs for the teaching and the presenting of music and theater? This facility will be able to take care of teaching and presentation for voice, choir, orchestra, band, jazz, mariachis, symphony, concerts, ensembles. And then on the theater side, we're able to do drama, opera, musical theater, and then the spoken word of lectures. So we've really focused on what is in the best intent for the campus, and it is very much an instructional space with the kind of the exclamation point of instructional education would be actual presentation from the stage to the audience themselves. This will also allow us to accommodate festivals, the ULI, which becomes your big recruiting calling card to enhance and grow the music and theater departments here on campus. As you can see, we've also are located just south of the Jacob Brown facility, which is north of, on the top of the slide. This is the Jacob Brown facility. This is Taylor Avenue that will have a slight realignment. Our new facility is sitting nestled between Jacob Brown, the Gargis facility, and the Resaca. This is University Boulevard and the Chamber of Commerce. So the second benefit of being able, for me to be able to be involved again in another musical theater facility is a wonderful site. We're actually able to start creating a fine arts zone and complement each facility. The new facility, the Jacob Brown, we're able to sit very lovely against the Resaca and then tie into the historic district zone and be very sympathetic and sensitive and tie the architecture of the new facility into the historic architecture of Fort Brown itself. And so that's a very exciting kind of approach that we don't get to have both of these luxuries or excitements on every project. These are some of the ideas of how the building would be viewed from the Resaca. You can see that we have the lobby. The lobby art gallery space would be along the Resaca. So during nighttime events, there would be a glow from the lobby out onto the Resaca. And then along the left side here, you would have the approach from University Boulevard. So you can see there's just tremendous views, both from the views into the facility as you approach it, as well as once you're in the lobby, you're able to look out across the whole campus. So we've got just a really great location of the facility. This is a view from the Resaca, and then the next view here is the view as the approach into the facility. If you arrive by automobile, or in this view, you arrive by foot, you actually come in through an arcade that brings you into the entrance into the lobby itself. This actual view is if you were approaching the new facility from the Paseo of Gargis Hall. So you can see we've really tied in the romantic architecture that we have at Fort Brown, and then tie that in and creating grand views out onto the Resaca itself. But I've sat here and talked about the architectural views. I want to go back to the programming. What were the exact needs for this facility? Because this was not an architectural approach first. It was the top priority, as once we identified what music and theater needs we were wanting to design for, then we actually prioritized. And the top priority was instructional space. And that is instructional space so we can teach and educate. I had children who grew up through the performing arts side. You've heard many stories today, and just the whole emotion of being able to help teach and educate as our younger children grow up, and quite a tremendous accomplishment. We identified through this programming session there's 3 types of teaching. Intimate teaching, which is really a one-on-one professor to student, and then we have very small teaching studios, which is identified here. We have 5 teaching studios where you can have a teacher and 1 student in a rehearsal setting, or 1 and a couple of students in special, small, intimate rehearsal rooms. We have the next level of instructional teaching is group teaching, and that would be the professor with the class. In this facility, we have 3 rehearsal rooms. This rehearsal room is known as our large rehearsal room, which is basically set up for orchestra and band. This is a diagram that shows a 75-member orchestra set up into the rehearsal room that's in the floor plans. This rehearsal room also is the same size as the stage, so we can set this up and get experience in a rehearsal fashion before there becomes the presentation to the full audience on theater night. We also have sized this that there was program elements where we wanted to be able to do rehearsals where you had orchestra and choral groups at the same time set up in the room. When that happens, then there becomes a whole different acoustical accommodations, and so the third line item of variable acoustics, we can actually tune the room. So we can tune it when it's just a small ensemble in the rehearsal room, or we can tune it to a different reverberation or echo time as it relates to a larger group. This is done by special treatment on the ceiling, the floors, and then the walls have moving I'll say moving partitions, but basically it's just curtains and draperies that come into the room or leave the room to be able to change the acoustical environment. So now we're able to tune this rehearsal room very similar to what they would be experiencing on the stage of this new facility or the stage of any other facility if they were performing in another city. We also have 2 rehearsal rooms that we've identified for medium rehearsal room. One is set up more for choral, and the other medium rehearsal room is set up more for jazz. They also have different variable acoustical fine-tuning for this very same reason that we're using these rehearsal rooms basically 24/7. This diagram is showing a 70-member choir on risers, very similar setup that they would have on the stage. This room is also flexible to do a smaller orchestra in the same room. Also off of this rehearsal room, the 2 medium rehearsal rooms, this door on the side takes us into one of the very intimate teaching studios of the one-on-one relationship, which we get back into the intimate teaching. The large rehearsal room has 3 teaching studios, so you can teach in a group fashion, and then you can pull students out into the teaching studio. So you can see we're looking at working with the individuals one-on-one and then the group. And then after they've gone through that kind of education, we go into the 3rd level of teaching, which would be the presentation. The presentation is The presentation would be when they have now moved all of the orchestra set up from a rehearsal room and placed it on stage. And now they are ready to have the educational learning of presenting into an actual audience chamber. This is our first floor plan. One of the earlier renderings of the Resaca, you can see this is the art gallery lobby that allows the views out onto the Resaca and the views into the front door of the facility itself. The second view that you come in from the Gargas, this is the area of the double arcade entry approach and ties into the Paseo from the Gargas. Similar architecture is on the west side, which is for our automobile drop-off, and so we have 2 entry points to promenade down into the the lobby area for the views. The first rendering, the first floor plan I showed you of the large rehearsal hall is directly behind the stage, so there's easy access to and from the 3 teaching studios. This is one of the medium-sized rehearsal rooms. It has a teaching studio. We also have dedicated a piano storage where we have developed that it can be converted and used also as a piano studio. So we have the special air conditioning and acoustics that are prepared that can happen in that place, in that location. The stage is of size for drama and opera, as well as for a typical 70 to 80 person symphonic orchestra, as well as a 150 person combination of orchestra and choral risers. What you see here in the red and the beige area is the orchestra seating level. We have on the main level of seating 550 seats on the main level. And then there is a balcony above for the remaining seats that gets us to the 800. Access from the lobby is in 2 locations at the rear, and then you promenade down into your seating, and then along the ring are box seats also that allows for the view and creates the intimacy of the room. The stage is also set up as a teaching classroom. Teaching classroom, i.e. for rehearsals. It can be used as a teaching classroom if the Texas Southmost College would like to move into theater technology as a curriculum to teach, because we have a stage house with rigging, all the lighting design, set design, all the acoustical sound design can be happening now because you now have this facility as a teaching instrument for that. Off of the lobby, we have back of house dressing rooms and restrooms, and then we also have public restrooms and for the public. So we have separation of what we call back of house and front of house. We also have a small concession area, which is also used as a catering area, because now we've converted this lobby area, which typically happens, into a fundraising event where you can use this to really enhance and promote things in the facility, as well as any events that you would like to have representing the full campus. This is our first floor. To get to the second floor, we have an elevator, and then we have a grand stair that, as this sweeping wall that gives you vistas all along the Resaca, there's a stair that takes you up to the balcony, and as you come up the stair, you have the elevated views out onto the Resaca. When you've reached the top of the stairs, there is a small balcony area that sweeps around to the second or the third rehearsal room that I've mentioned earlier with its teaching studio. As you're on this balcony area, you can look out towards the Resaca, or you can look down and see the activity of the people on the lower level of the lobby. We have entry points into the back of the balcony seating, and you've come in, and then there's seating in the theater row fashion, and then we have additional box seating that comes around and embraces the main seating. So they all have very good views for the performance on the stage itself. We have some theater support facilities in terms of being able to have employees to manage and run this facility, and then we have remotely located all of the very strategic acoustical air handling systems to be able to air condition the facility, but also be able to do it in a very quiet way, so we can be very sensitive to the sound and the acoustics in the room itself. This is one of our earlier diagrams of if you were sitting in the main level looking towards the stage. We have a very special proscenium and an acoustical eyebrow, and then this gray area is above an architectural ceiling, and then you can start seeing the edges of the front box seats. One of the tours that one of the facilities during the tour was a project that I did called Kincaid Theater. The new Texas Southmost College Music Hall has used Kincaid Theater as a role model, although our needs here at Texas Southmost College were a lot more diverse and a lot more design needs than what we did at Kincaid. But here you can get a very good feel for the proscenium, the acoustical eyebrow, and the box seats that are starting to step up to the balcony seating above, and you can see the orchestra seating and the start of the box seating on the lower level. And our facility along this edge right here is an orchestra pit. For drama, we are able to use that as a thrust stage to be able to bring create additional intimacy for performer and audience. The orchestra pit covers can be pulled off, and we can have an orchestra pit for opera or musical theater. For symphonic, we would have the covers over, and then there's a special side wall, rear wall, and ceiling that encloses the stage to become part of the overall audience chamber, so we can create the correct acoustics and the best enhancement of sound for the whole audience chamber itself. If we were to cut the theater in half and just look at it crosswise, what we have here would be the proscenium. The stage would be to the right. This is that special eyebrow, the proscenium line. Here's our main seating of 550 seats, our balcony, which is 5 rows with the boxes stepping down, and you can see the boxes cascading around at a higher level, so it's created a very good intimacy for the room itself. These columns are brought in to reduce some of the structural costs, but at the same time create a little more intimacy through one of our design tools of trying to create a false psychological perspective that the room is smaller than it actually is. This room is very small. Quite an accomplishment is if you've ever been to Shakespeare's Globe Theater, or probably the latest that I've been there was Shakespeare in Love, the movie, and they always did the performances there in the Globe Theater. This facility and this colonnade will actually sit inside the envelope of the Globe Theater. So I'm just telling you how intimate and acoustically enhanced this will be for all the performances, but just a real complement and an enhancement for the program. We have some special ceiling elements, one for acoustical reflection back into the room, and then we have an extra, I'll say, very large attic space, and in that attic space we need to take care of, for acoustical reasons, there are curtains that open and shut to be able to tune the room from 1.2 seconds of reverberation all the way up to 1.6 seconds. And 1.2 probably is more like 1.1 is for the spoken word. 1.6 moves you closer to when you have a jazz concert on the stage itself. We also have strategic lighting positions for theater lighting to be able to do the correct theatrical lighting and follow spots for opera, drama, and musical theater. So this is a cross section. We're using materials that are very appropriate, very modest in terms of their cost, but very rich in terms of the way we detail the facility, as well as tie into all of the acoustical requirements to make sure that we have a natural sound house. Again, I go back to the Kincaid Theater to give you a feel. Again, you can see the special ceiling. You cannot see the curtains above this ceiling, although Kincaid does not have the variable curtains. But this would be the area above this ceiling that would be the large volume. The special eyebrow, the box seats that are embracing the balcony seating, and you can see the box seats that are coming down to embrace the main level of seating. The front 2 box seats are not for patron use. They are more, what we call this the Juliet box, because with the caliper stage, this allows you to do the Romeo and Juliet scene. So now we're starting to bring theater and theater presentation in front of the proscenium line. And we have magnified or enhanced the number of lighting positions to be able to bring theater lighting in the front. So as I said, the highest level of instructional teaching is the presentation from the stage out into the audience chamber. You can see this room itself, the audience chamber, is very much a classroom for teaching at the same time. And so there will become an emotional reward of just being able to be part of this facility, whether you're on stage or actually in the audience themselves. If you're on stage and you were singing or presenting out into the facility, you can see in one eye view you would be able to catch all 800 seats of the facility, the balcony, the box seats, the balconies that wrap the main seating area. This is standing mid-stage of our Kincaid facility. You're mid-stage, so you're 30 feet to the edge of the stage, and then you have the 500 seats, the additional seats in the balcony. You can get a feel here better of the colonnade and how this facility, as I was talking about, is similar to the Globe Theater, but as intimate as the Globe Theater itself. We did not leave the lobby areas out, but with the priority of developing a facility for instructional media, we wanted to make sure the lobby also had instructional value. A lot of things in the performing arts is all about fundraising. So we did two things in the lobby, is develop this, that we could do sit-down dinners, be able to cater it and use it for fundraising events, set it up where it could be acoustically correct, so if you did have a speaker series in the lobby before you go into the main facility for a presentation from stage, that you could actually hear. A lot of lobbies are just noisy and just kind of like your front porch you walk through. We also tied in the lobby area with the new design, with the design of Texas Southmost College, a lot of areas with large blank walls, so they could become the art gallery. So we start tying performing arts back into the campus of the visual arts. And so this is what I said earlier, we were kind of naming this as the art gallery lobby. So there's a way to be able to bring all the cultural arts together in one building, and that can be an additional presentation tool for the college to present out into the community. Another view of a lobby. Our lobby is very similar to this size of lobby. You can get an idea of the second floor balcony that's able to look down into the lower lobby, and the balcony views out into through the glass of the Resaca, both at the lower level and the upper level. The 23 months that we've been together has been right on schedule. It takes quite a bit of time. We started 2 years ago with a project that was 26,000 square feet. And in that 26,000 square feet, we only had 600 seats. We only had 2 rehearsal rooms and 4 teaching studios. And we had a lobby that was probably about half the size of the room that we are in tonight. And so that was what was set up as the start of this facility. As we went and brought education to the needs to the facility through working with the faculty and bringing the board on the tour of other educational theaters as well as presenting theaters in Houston, we realized there was a need to increase square footage, seat count, and get additional support space for a teaching facility. So after that tour, and there was a program definition, and so in October of '06 we increased square footage to get a start on what was going to be more appropriate to meet both music and theater. This project here was for music only, And so now, as you saw in the earlier presentations, there's a strong opera component here in Brownsville. Today, we are showing a facility that is 57,000 square feet, an increase. That is mainly because of 800 seats. We have the third rehearsal room. We now have 5 teaching studios, although it says 4. We still have all the auxiliary spaces of dressing rooms and all the mechanical rooms, an increase in mechanical to be able to support quietly the acoustical requirement. The reason I wanted to share this is because, as I said earlier, our GMP in this 57,000 square feet, when you divide the dollars by the square footage, we are on line with other facilities across the United States. We are on line with a project similar in size, similar in scope that we broke ground last week on, another music facility on another campus. And the reason I feel comfortable with that is because I'm talking about November '07 dollars. The other one is programming for music facilities on university campuses. This one, if we just one quick rule of thumb, is how many square feet per seat. And we had 26,000 square feet for 600 seats. We were only about 43 square foot per chair or per seat, and was a little bit on the minimal side. When we bumped up to the 48,000, that got us to about 60 square feet a seat. We're used to seeing anywhere from 78 to 80 square foot per seat count to be able to do a correct music facility on a university campus. If you take these kind of numbers here, we are actually at 72 square feet. We have everything accomplished. We're meeting all of the needs that we strategically decided and prioritized together here. And this is really a value because there's about 6 square feet a seat that we're not having to build. So I wanted to, again, just repeat, we've got a custom facility. It's a fantastic facility for the college. It will enhance the programs here you have for music and theater. It will complement what they have, and it will also challenge them. And I mean challenge them that they will need to grow into the facility, enhance, and they'll do that by just the touring and the people coming to through the UIL and the recruitment program. You've seen we've done a lot of similarities to the Kincaid facility. This is very different than Kincaid, but it gives you a feel of the architectural or aesthetic look. But from a theatrical point of view, this facility is a lot more enhanced and more theatrical and musical oriented. But back to the Kincaid facility, which I see will happen here. Kincaid has been open since 2002, and we have professional theater groups from all over the United States and the world touring the Kincaid facility because there's not anything like that compatible in what a lot of municipalities do. I have a feeling when we move forward in the construction with this project, you will become the capital of Texas and the United States in terms of theater facilities that ties in that everybody would like to come and visit and see how to do that on their campus. We need to talk about the guaranteed maximum price. I've been working with Broadus and Associates. I'd turn this portion over to Gilbert Gallegos to make the rest of the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Pete. Appreciate it very much. I'm Gilbert Gallegos, Senior Vice President with Broadus and Associates, and obviously y'all hired us to be your trusted advisors as we proceed forward with this particular BROM program. And this evening we're here to request your approval on the guaranteed max price for this particular project. And this is a big decision. Typically the way the contract works, and by the way, I will say that it has been a pleasure working with Pete Garrett and Studio Red. They have been very informative in terms of this particular facility type, been providing many options as we proceed forward, and I think have done a great job in terms of designing a very signature type building. So I do appreciate working with Pete Ed, and certainly want to commend Pete for all his effort. The other part of the equation with regard to the team members, Skanska USA, they were hired in May 2006 to provide the construction phase services for the entire project. The contract is broken down in two particular phases. Phase 1 is pre-construction services, and Phase 2 is construction phase services. What kicks the construction phase services into gear is the approval of the guaranteed maximum price, and that's what we're here today. We also have representatives here from Skanska USA. We have Mr. Marty Massey and Mr. Dennis Young. Where are you guys? They're in the back over there. Standing room only this evening, obviously, but they have been great in terms of providing pre-construction services. So there is the authorization to start construction is based upon the approval of the guaranteed max price, and just for an approval of that will certainly kick the project and start. Now, we'll provide some information in terms of to kind of reiterate and what emphasize why we're actually over. There's been some discussion on some shortfall, but the overall budget that we had set aside that was approved by the board is a little over $18.4 million, and it's broken down into what we call construction costs, and those are hard costs, and there's also soft costs associated with the project. Those soft costs are miscellaneous expenses, professional fees, surveying, geotechnical, and those kind of things. So you can see that as other fees associated with coming up with what we call a total project cost. So the entire budget amount, based upon the square footage that Pete Ed Garrett had mentioned, was budgeted at $354. And that was based upon a preliminary set of documents. Now that we have a guaranteed max price, we have what we call a 60% set of construction documents, much more detailed, much more information. The contractor has provided some subcontractor feedback in terms of confirmation of those particular costs. But based upon that feedback, we have a proposed total project cost of $25,195,500, but the guaranteed max price for construction would be a little over $21 million. And based upon that particular square footage that Pete had mentioned, which was 57,000 square feet, we have a cost per square foot of $362. There is an $8 difference there, and a $6 million difference on the construction cost that was set aside in the budget, and I'll talk about some kind of recapture some of the reasons why real quick here in a couple of minutes. And the other fees, which will include the additional costs for the larger building, which is a shortfall of $6.7 million. And I believe Dr. Garcia will talk about some of the funding allocations for that particular project. But why were we over? And I think just to kind of reemphasize and recapture why we're over, originally we had a 600-seat facility. Now we have 800 seat. That 800 seat increased the volume of the space. We have a very diverse facility that it will accomplish just about every venue, from theatrical to opera. The opera portion itself, in terms of just the fine-tuning of the acoustics that come with that level of acoustics, is $1 million just for that particular element, which was also included. The additional square footage that Pete Ed spoke about of 9,000 square feet, based upon that square footage, roughly is about $3.4 million. So that's an additional cost increase. So everything increases because of the additional number of seats. We have a larger lobby, as Pete mentioned. We have more restrooms to support that, ancillary support spaces. The mechanical space grew because of the size, more volume. So all this fine-tuning obviously had a big impact. It's a domino effect, especially with this type of facility, because it's very complex. It affects everything downstream in terms of acoustics, mechanical systems, electrical, and so forth. So that in essence is why we're over. In essence, it's the square footage. The location of the building has also had a big impact. The location was very significant in terms of, as Pete mentioned, it being in close proximity to the Jacob Brown. Also make a strong connection with the historical district. So that has been a challenge in terms of coming up with a project that we feel is in keeping with the direction from a master plan point of view, in terms of architecture, in terms of direction, and in terms of significance, because that is a very significant location that will be, I think, because of the Resaca and the orientation, will be a project that will be a showcase for this particular campus. So those are primarily the reasons why the project is over. We have some escalation. When we started the bond program about 2.5 years ago, we have projected a 5% increase in cost escalation. Everyone has heard of cost escalation, but there has actually been a cost escalation of around 12%. That equates to about a little over $1 million just in cost escalation because of the assumptions that we made about 2 years plus ago and where actually is currently taking place. I will say that at the current rate that we have in terms of cost escalation for this particular project, we can anticipate a $200,000 per month cost escalation if for some reason the board decides not to proceed forward on this particular approval of a guaranteed max price, which is a very significant amount. Skanska has promised when they provided this GMP back in October 19th to hold this particular GMP until, in essence, for 3 months, which I think typically only occurs, that holding of those particular prices only occurs 30 days, 60 days max, but they have promised to hold that particular cost for 90 days, which I think is commendable on their particular part. And one of the things that we, of course, as your trusted advisor, is to making sure that the Texas Southmost College gets the best value possible. As we have benchmarked 10 projects. 6 projects of those have been by Studio Red. We have been able to benchmark against other projects. We're doing a very similar project at South Texas College. It's more drama, much smaller, but that one is based upon current costs is about $370. The current price of the project that you saw, Kincaid, was about closer to $400. We actually ended up with providing an independent as part of our level of services, an estimate. This is independent aside from the contractor, Skanska. Our cost came in at $370 a square foot. So we feel like the GMP at $362 is a very, we're providing value in terms of cost per square foot for this particular project, especially because of the location. The location has a lot to do in terms of size, the relocation of the road, utilities, and so forth. So we feel like we're getting value as in terms of benchmarking on this particular project against others throughout the state. We obviously want to emphasize that this is a guaranteed maximum price, the emphasis on maximum. We are still going through value engineering and constructability sessions. We've had 4 meetings. We've generated about $4.5 million in cost savings that are a part of this particular project. We're looking at ways to actually have schedule compression, take advantage of Skanska being on site with general conditions, not paying for twice for trailers as an example. We still haven't pulled out the procurement strategies that the board has already seen and has approved, for instance, the face brick, the insurance, and those kind of items. More to follow as we proceed forward. And there really hasn't been any particular pricing at the competitive bid situation with subcontractors because they typically drive the process in terms of overall cost for the project. But it is the intent, with your approval today, to complete the documents at 90% here in mid-December, have Skanska go out and solicit competitive seal proposals from the local subcontractor community and get a better handle in terms of the overall cost on the project here in January. We have seen cost savings on other similar projects. As an example, at the Kinesiology project, there's been some cost savings of what we call buyout of $300,000 by going through that bidding process. We're already seeing that at the library, closer to $500,000 so far. So we feel confident that there's going to be additional cost savings that will come back to the owner due to these cost control strategies as we proceed forward. Dr. Garcia, I'll turn it over to you to discuss the funding options, if I may.
Thank you, Mr. Gallegos. I appreciate it. The next slide talks a little bit about some of the cost breakdown that we are expecting here. You've already seen a number from 18 million grow to now 25 million, and the difference at the 6.7 million that we're really concerned about this evening. The construction contract that the board would approve tonight, however, would actually be for 21,084,574, and that's the construction cost without the other fees or the equipment costs, furniture costs, that are still part of the cost of this project, but will not go to Skanska. So the budget needed in total, as adjusted by this new bid, is 25 million, and you see the difference there of the 4 million, and now to 21. So the question is then, how does the university expect to make up the difference or the shortfall of the 6.7 million? The university has begun to develop a very strong arm in institutional advancement. It's in its infancy in many ways, and we recognize that. And yet, in a very, very short amount of time, this area has begun to nurture patrons and begun to recruit supporters, not only of the arts, but of the university in general. So much so that this last year, our anniversary year, our 15th anniversary year, quinceañera year, generated over $1 million of new endowments. That's unheard of at this university. It's a large amount. It's small relative to other universities. We understand that, but it is a very large amount, and it is due to the efforts of very hard-working staff. In the last 6 weeks alone, the development staff brought in over $260,000. And so while it is a slow process, it is a continuous process that kind of builds momentum on its own. We are very confident that the other administrators and myself and the members of the development board, as you've heard Mr. Rodriguez pledge to you tonight, that we would be able to raise the $6.7 million over the next 2 years. That is a leap of faith for you to make. You've made leaps of faith with us before, and we've not disappointed you, I hope, in the past. And so how would we do that? Well, there are a variety of patrons that we've already begun to nurture, several of which we think would enjoy getting the opportunity to put their name on such a beautiful building, or the name on a chair, or the name on a lobby, or the name on a rehearsal. We will name every chair, every space, every door in the building. That's very traditional in these kinds of facilities, and there are folks who enjoy seeing their own name, but also those who would honor those in their families or those who have been important to them. We've had experience with that kind of community-wide effort before, many, many years ago when we were a very young community college, actually, and we had a tremendous amount of community support for that. We believe that that kind of a broad-based effort does more than merely raise money. It raises friends and supporters in the long run. And we commit to you that we would pledge our time and our effort and all of our efforts to raise that $6.7 million over the next 2 years. In addition, we would do that with the support of the development board that you've heard Mr. Rodriguez mention today. But what happens if I'm wrong? What if we're not able to raise the $6.7 million? We have capacity to still take out about $3.5 million in maintenance tax notes. Those are tax notes that this board has capacity within its current projections in a conservative way to assess without going back to the voters for another request, but in a way that provides the same amount of tax rate to be assessed to the voters. And so it is something that you've done in the past and that you could continue, that you could do again. That would leave us then with still about $3 million of the total left to raise. There are two places in the Texas Southmost College budget where that could be identified. One is that we spend about $1 million a year in our TSC budget for land acquisition. And we, as you know, we've been aggressively purchasing land for parking on Jackson Street and in other areas adjacent to the university. We could slow that process down instead of budgeting $1 million budget, half that amount over a 2 to 3 year period and bank the difference. There's another place in the TSC budget, and that is in the capital improvement budget. We budget a little bit over $1 million every year in the TSC budget for renovations. We've just renovated parts of Rusterberg building into a small art gallery and classrooms, and there's great needs on this campus for continuing capital improvement and deferred maintenance. But we could also delay some of those projects, only budget half of that amount and bank the rest. That would make up the balance of the total of 6.7. Maintenance tax notes and delaying some of the projects for land acquisition or for capital improvements. So you need to feel secure that should you decide to do this tonight, and should we not be successful in any fundraising attempt, which we think is a very bleak projection for the future, that there still would be, there's fiscal responsibility in making that decision. But I want to conclude by simply assuring you that all of our efforts would be focused on not waiting 2 years to raise the money, but in fact trying to do it much sooner, because we have other things that we want to be about for the purpose of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia, for all your comments and for your hard work that I know that you have put into this project the last, especially 10 days or so. I'd like to thank everybody for their comments, everybody for their input, the hard work that they've been doing over the last several years in this project, and for coming tonight and supporting for you students. I know this is something that you all want. But again, thank you for your time, and thank everyone for the huge effort they've put in to this project so far, and especially tonight. The Physical Facilities Committee recommends, and I move to authorize Skanska USA to proceed with Part 2 construction phase services for the Music Hall building in the amount of $21,884,574, and to authorize the Assistant Vice President for Planning and Construction to execute the contract.
Motion's been made by Ms. Breedlove. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second's been made by Dr. Robles. Any further discussions on this item? No further discussions, then all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
One opposition, Mr. Campirano. Then the ayes have it. This motion passes.
Chairman.
Dr. Robles, please, yes.
Today is an historic moment for UTB-TSC. The Performing Arts Center will be able to meet not only the artistic needs of our students, but will benefit our community as well. I would like to take this opportunity to thank President Garcia for her true leadership in working hard to make this historic moment happen, and to my fellow trustees in particular our chairman, Mr. Chester Gonzalez, for their undaunted courage for taking the necessary steps to push this project through. In addition, I'd like to thank the administration, Dr. David Pearson, Ms. Rosemary Martinez, Dr. Jose Martin, Ms. Veronica Mendez, Ms. Melba Sanchez, Dr. Moore, Dr. Ragland, Barry Horn, Broadus and Associates, and others for working tirelessly and under tremendous pressure to create the financial avenues to get us to our destination. Finally, it is the staff, faculty, and students of this great institution who, on a shoestring budget and inadequate facilities, have achieved national accreditation. If you were able to get us to this level with a paucity of support, I cannot even fathom how far the new facilities will take you and the future generations to come. As far as the cost of the facilities, it would have been easy to say no, but more challenging to say yes. So, for the leap of faith that Dr. Garcia mentioned earlier, and quoting Franklin Delano Roosevelt, there is nothing to fear but fear alone. Thank you.
I'm a bit tongue-tied at this moment, so I'm just going to say thank you for everybody, and thank you very much. Thank you.
It's pretty good for tongue-tied.
We'll go back to item number 6, a more mundane business.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, we need a motion for funding allocation.
Thank you. I stand corrected. I would ask for a motion to approve the funding allocation for the construction projects as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made by Ms. Breedlove.
Second.
Second by Dr. Robles. Any further discussion on this item? No discussion. All in favor say aye. All opposed say no. Motion carries. And this concludes item number 9. Thank you very much.
Chairman, I need to, may I be excused, I'm almost an hour late to another meeting.
Yes, sir, you may. Thank you, Mr. Campilano. We're going to move on to item number 6, is a public hearing on continuing taxation of goods in transit.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask Ms. Melba Sanchez to introduce that topic, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and Dr. Garcia. The TSC district assesses ad valorem taxes to maintain and operate the college and to service debt. Taxes are assessed on property valuations, which primarily include real property, but also include non-real property such as goods in inventory. Earlier this year, the 80th legislature passed House Bill 621, which allows a property tax exemption of goods in transit. These are goods that are shipped to another location inside or outside the state of Texas within 175 days. House Bill 621 is an extension of the Freeport exemption that is authorized by the Texas Constitution and Section 11.251 of the Property Tax Code and has been in effect since 1990. House Bill 621 would exempt from ad valorem taxation goods, principally inventory, acquired in or brought into Texas and stored at a location not owned or controlled by the owner for up to 175 days. Unlike the original Freeport exemption, the goods in transit would not have to be shipped out of the state to qualify for the exemption. The TSC district to date has not adopted a Freeport exemption and therefore imposes property taxes on these goods. House Bill 621 allows governing bodies to adopt a resolution prior to January 1st, 2008 to continue taxing these goods as before. 2 steps are required. First, a public hearing must be conducted, and then a resolution adopted to continue taxing these goods. Mr. Chairman, at this time, we would like to request that you open up the floor for a public hearing on this item.
Okay. Are there any speakers to this item from the public? Most speakers have been signed up, so there are none. Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Melba.
We will then move on to item number 7. The board has now conducted a public hearing on this exemption as part of your agenda, and the following is a resolution to continue the taxation of goods in transit. The resolution reads as follows. Resolution continuing taxation of goods in transit. Whereas pursuant to the Texas Constitution and Texas Tax Code, Section 11.253, local taxing units are granted the option to continue taxing goods in transit. And whereas the Board of Trustees of the Texas Southmost College District has held a hearing pursuant to Article 8, Section 1ND, Texas Constitution, on the issue of whether goods in transit are not exempt by statute other than Texas Tax Code, Section 11.253, should continue to be taxed. And whereas the Board of Trustees finds and determines that it is in the public's interest to continue the ad valorem taxation of goods in transit, and whereas the Board further finds and determines that the meeting at which this resolution is adopted was open to the public, and that the public notice of the time, place, and purpose of such meeting was given, all as required by Chapter 551, Texas Government Code as amended. Now, therefore, it is accordingly found, declared, ordered, and resolved by the Board of Trustees of the Texas Southmost College District that goods in transit, as defined by Texas Tax Code Section 11.253, shall remain subject to ad valorem taxation by the Texas Southmost College District pursuant to the annual ad valorem tax assessment, if not otherwise exempt. This resolution would be passed, ordered, and adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Texas Southmost College District on this 29th day of November 2007.
Melba, when I met with Dr. Pearson on this briefing, I just had a question. I said, who collects the actual tax for this export transit?
The appraisal
item?
district assesses they assess what the inventory is that's taxable. That in turn is provided to the tax office, who imposes a tax and sends out the tax bills, which are then collected on our behalf.
Okay, so even though they're in transit, that throws me off as far as how do they monitor this to be collected?
How do you determine what that value is?
Sure.
I had a conversation with the appraisal office, and the valuation is determined as of January 1 of any given year. It's not possible to go out and take a look at every piece of inventory on January 1, so it is determined as of a date, a certain date and a point in time. I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much, Melba. So, may I have a motion to adopt the resolution pursuant to Section 11.253 of the Texas Property Code, Tax Code?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
A motion has been made by Ms. Zimmerman, seconded by Ms. Zimmerman. Motion made by Ms. Breedlove, seconded by Ms. Zimmerman. Any further discussion on this item? Yes.
May I say thank you to Melba Sanchez for working with us and helping us understand and finding this point. So where we're supposed to be on this. So thank you.
Thank you, Melba.
Thank you.
Thank you very
So,
much.
all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay, item number 8 is the Joint Business Affairs and Student Affairs Partnership Committee meeting, which I call Ms. Zimmerman to make this report.
Mr. Chairman, we had an historic meeting yesterday. First time that we had a joint meeting with the Student Affairs and the Business Affairs Partnership Committee, and it was held yesterday, Wednesday, November the 28th. Members from both committees were present to consider the partnership concordance policy with regard to the proposed tuition and fees for fiscal years 2009-2010. Rosemary Martinez and Dr. Charles Dameron provided the committees with a PowerPoint presentation of the fees for the 2008-2010 academic years. The presentation included an overview of the tuition and fees process and recommendations made by the Tuition Policy Advisory Committee. No action was taken by the Student Affairs and Business Affairs Partnership Committees. Both Mrs. Martinez and Dr. Dameron are present and will present to you the summary of fee requests and recommendations. If you will, please.
We have a short presentation for you tonight, and then we'll be happy to respond to any questions you might have. We'll begin with a little bit of background, history on state funding. Tuition deregulation began in 2003, and a point we want to make in this slide is that from that point on, the amount of state funding as a percentage of all university funding has continued to decrease since that time. That is, in fiscal year 2002, it was about 45.5% of the university's funding needs. That has now declined in 2006 to 36%. That's put increasing pressure on tuition and fees to make up the difference. 2 years ago, the UT System Board of Regents asked every institution to establish a process for evaluating possible increases in deregulated tuition and mandatory fees. And so 2 years ago this fall, we went through that process for the first time, made recommendations to this board, and we adopted some fee increases at that time. Now, 2 years later, we have reviewed a new group of requests for additional fees as well as deregulated tuition. And the committee that has done this work has been busy throughout this fall semester. The committee has been composed of 34 members. We held, I think actually now 16 meetings over that time, met with folks across campus, and held 3 public hearings to receive feedback on requests. Here are several of the guiding principles that we operated under. We have continued to identify cost savings and implement those at the institution, and that has resulted in about $1.2 million in savings over the last 6 years. We've been very concerned about the level of financial aid available to students and have endeavored to keep our tuition and fees at a level that continues to make our institution affordable to these students. You'll notice the Pell Grants that provide financial aid for the majority of our students have been, actually for a number of years, steady at $4,310. Fortunately, this year, the Congress increased the Pell Grant amount to $4,800. That will then grow over the next few years to $5,400, and so we're looking at that as a potential limit on what we would wish to charge for tuition and fees to our students so that we remain affordable. And now Mrs. Martinez will cover the proposed designated tuition and fees.
The designated tuition is the portion of tuition that the legislature deregulated. The statutory tuition stays constant at $50 a semester credit hour, and it is the designated tuition then that is the subject of our review and recommendations for increases. Currently, designated tuition is set at $66. The committee is recommending that designated tuition be changed to $78 for fall 2008. It's a $12 increase. And that same designated tuition would then go to $83 a semester credit hour for an additional $5. Those 2 proposed fee increases would generate $3.1 million and almost $1.3 million over the 2-year period. And the designated tuition is the amount of funding that basically funds general operations for the institution. So we use it for instruction and for faculty and for staff and for all general expenses. Under the deregulated tuition law, we are required to set aside 20% of designated tuition increases for scholarships. So of that amount available, the almost $4.5 million, almost $900,000 of that would have to be set aside for student scholarships. In addition to considering changes to designated tuition, the committee also considered changes to compulsory fees. Compulsory fees are those fees that every student that enrolls pays for. And in the category of compulsory fees, we had requests in the automation, computer access, library, and student union fees. And we covered the net changes at yesterday's meeting. Those fee changes would generate an additional $1 million in 2009 and $1.3 million in 2010. These fee increases, if approved, would take effect fall of 2008. The committee is also recommending that we assess an additional charge for students who repeat a course by more than 3 times, or students that exceed the state allowable funding hours as part of the formula funding that we receive from the state. The recommended changes would impact tuition for 12 semester credit hours in this manner. Current tuition for 12 hours is $1,937. The recommended amount would take that to $2,184. It would be an increase of $247 for 1 semester. If you double that over the course of a year for 2 semesters, it's slightly over the projected increase in financial aid. The annual increase for 24 semester credit hours would be $494. Financial aid is expected to increase $490. In the fall, that number would jump by $96 to $2,280 a semester. The change for graduate students based on 9 semester credit hours would result in a $190 increase in fall 2008, and that same number would increase by $72 in fall of 2009. One of the fees that is new and that is also included in here is the athletic fee that was legislatively approved last session. That fee starts out at $5 next fall and then goes to $7 the fall after that. Other incidental fees are tied to specific courses, and they're assessed for specific activities. Based on the recommendation of the committee, changes in individual course fees, including course fees that fund the music department, for example. You just heard a presentation on all of the individual rehearsal space in music. These individual course fees help fund the one-on-one instruction that students receive in the fine arts department. Other fees included in here are fees for certain courses like biology and environmental sciences. And I have to tell you that those 2 groups have a strong following, and they were the most vocal students that attended our meetings in favor of course fee increases to support the supplies that they need for instruction. These fees are projected for a student who takes 12 hours to add an additional $14 in incidental fees to students. The student recreation facility is expected to be online next October, and as a result, we will have to assess fees to faculty, staff, alumni, and others who may wish to purchase a membership. And so based on recommendations by staff, they are recommending the following annual enrollment or membership fees that would generate approximately $38,000. These $38,000 go to support the maintenance and operation of the student recreational facility. As is the case in this facility and the other incidental fees, the fees that are assessed for specific purposes must be spent for those activities and can't be spent for anything else. And here are some of those biology and environmental sciences students that attended one of the very last meetings that we had, advocating in support of an increase in those fees. And Dr. Damon and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. I just would like to inform the public and remind everyone that we discussed this item last night very thoroughly. I believe we were here till almost 9 o'clock. It was like a 2.5-hour meeting, so we're very familiar with the reasons and the whys as to the recommended tuition issues. Question that I would have just to remind the public would be, what would happen if we have a concurrence policy pursuant to the partnership agreement to follow suit on the increases. But what would happen if this board was to deny this increase and to the budget items on our campus? Does that question make sense?
The concordance policy basically says that any fees that you collect from students get passed through to the partnership and then are then used by the partnership to fund all of the activities. Based on all of the testimony that we heard from the individual departments and the students that were advocating for some of these dollars, the revenues are needed to fund all of the extra needs that students have. In most of these cases, the incidental fees are being assessed directly and specifically for materials and supplies that students receive that are above and beyond what a student normally needs in the average classroom. These are courses that have one-on-one instruction in the case of music. In the instance of the art department, students receive materials and art supplies that well exceed the cost of the course fee. The fee is being assessed to them because we can provide the materials to them in a more cost-effective way. So there would be many, many unmet needs if fees weren't approved.
But we will still have to make up the difference with the...
There's two parts of tuition and fees in the policy of the board. The concordance policy on fees basically say that what we assess to students goes passed on to the partnership. In the case of tuition, the statutory tuition, this board changed the statutory tuition policy a few months ago that makes tuition equal to the UTB tuition. If you set one less than the UTB tuition, the board would have to make up the difference.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
Any other, this is there's no action on this item, correct?
Correct. This is just an informational item for the board.
So are there any other questions from the rest of the board members on this? I think last night we were all here, so we pretty much whipped this horse to death, right?
Mr. Chairman, I think we just want to make sure that that point was understood
Absolutely.
by everyone in the Public Cares Act, too.
Thank you, Ms. Martin. Thank you, Dr. Damer.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It seems like we have a lull after this music department motion, but let me give you a news flash, okay? Right here, I got a news flash. Scorpion volleyball team advances to the top 10 NIA Women's National Championship Tournament. Our Scorpions defeated Virginia College at Wise 3-0 today, and they play Madonna University of Michigan on Friday at 10:30 in Columbus, Missouri.
Good thought.
So, thank you.
We're a well-rounded university.
I tell you.
Yes.
My God.
Volleyball, music. Alum.
Okay. Let's see. We move to item number 10, which is a resolution in support of a regional convention event center in Cameron County. And I'm going to read that resolution before I ask a motion to accept the resolution. And this resolution in support of such a convention event center states as follows. Whereas the University of Texas at Brownsville and Texas Southmost College, UTB-TSC, recognizes that the development of a regional convention event center in Cameron County, Texas, will stimulate economic development by creating jobs, attracting businesses, and promoting tourism in our region. And whereas a regional convention event center will benefit UTB-TSC, the City of Brownsville, and Cameron County by providing special events, sporting events, and community events. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Texas Southmost College District Board of Trustees supports the concept of developing a regional convention event center in Cameron County. In witness whereof, I hereunto set my hand on this 29th day of November 07, Chester Gonzalez, Chairman of the Board of Trustees, Eduardo A. Campirano, Secretary of the Board of Trustees. So I would ask for a motion to accept that resolution.
So moved.
Motion's been made by Dr. Robles,
I'll second it.
second by Ms. Zimmerman. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? None. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Item number 11 is our construction report. Dr. Pearson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Our team did well. I mean, we're going to be...
The amount of renovations that we're doing on campus has slowed a little bit over the last month, but there's an awful lot of activity taking place outside the former Leitner Student Center, now the Leitner Advising Center. You can remember an area which was fenced off, which had a depression in it, and which was, I suppose at one time, which was very genial for students, but which had really become a backwater. With a new design, we, as you can see, are bringing in very large trees. In fact, these look an awful lot like instant trees.
What kind are they?
These are live oaks.
Oh, okay.
And this is in the main section will be
Robles.
the main green sward of the courtyard. And this is the first tree that was installed several weeks ago. You can get a view on the left there of the second tree that was installed, and our workers were bringing in the third one, and now you'll be able to see there the third one that was installed at the end. What we're working on at this moment, these photos are from today. This is taken from the courtyard looking toward Tandy, and here's a reverse shot. We're putting in extending the paseo. If you remember this section, it was very narrow, and there was an incline which required railing. It was not ADA compliant, and we took the opportunity to make it so. That's what's happening in the construction report to be continued, but I want to continue this report by turning this over to Veronica Mendez, who will talk about the new construction projects.
Exciting things happening on our campus and more to come. I'd like to start the report with the rec center. Progress continues in the rec center, and you'll see now the social space and the social tower that their students will be able to see from many, many angles on our campus. The progress continues. The roof is almost completed, and the pouring of concrete continues. What you're seeing there is the area to finish off of the locker room area. The next shot will show you the work that is happening in the faculty and staff wing of the rec center. We have enclosed the facility, and we're almost ready to then begin installation of brick. We've also begun the installation of metal studs in air conditioning ducts, as you can see. So there's a lot of progress going on in that area of the building. The library and classroom building, the Board of Trustees held the groundbreaking last month, and immediately Skanska began securing the site and clearing the site for construction. Now, following our own landscape standards, we are protecting some of the vegetation that will stay there on the site. And you can see in these views while we protect the vegetation throughout the construction process. The work continues on the site. Underground utilities are going in and getting ready then for pure construction. Then we continue with the iTech campus, and the next slide will show the area that is to be renovated with the allocation of the iTech project. You can see the orange is the main entry, BEDC, and the Mexican Consul, and the blue is the area that has been designated then to be renovated. We have prepared that area, cleaned up the area for demolition. As you can see, some of the walls are already down, and we continue to work on demolition of those spaces. We will be finished in about 3 weeks with the 50,000 square feet of demolition. As a matter of fact, those are no longer there. The work continues also in the roof. We have about 50% of the roof completed. Remember, we had 186,000 square feet of work doing on roof, new roof. That concludes the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Item number 12, Dr. Garcia's report to the board.
Because of the late hour, I will be kind and since you already mentioned our volleyball women and their latest effort, now we just need to light some candles and wish them well on their way for tomorrow. But I wanted to remind you that we will have our winter commencement on the 22nd of December at 10 in the morning. It will be one joint commencement, It'll be on the courtyard or the lawn of the Student Union building. And we have a very special commencement speaker this year. We always try to select someone who has been an alumni of Texas Southmost College, and who has exceeded expectations of many. And we have one as a member of this board. And so our commencement speaker this year is Miss Dolly Zimmerman. We're very pleased
Dolly.
to have her.
13
Dolly was
years.
my student many years ago.
I know, a speech teacher. My final test.
You shall be graded.
I know it'll be wonderful. My last announcement is something that you need to look at as you leave our meeting tonight. First, I want to thank you for your patience, sincerely, on all of the issues that we've had before us today. Pretty tough issues to handle. Everything from tuition tonight to the music facility to all of the other important decisions that a board makes. But once in a while, a board gets to enjoy their service on a board, and we hope that's more the case than not for you. You were given a gift a couple of years ago, and that was from Sergio Bustamante. And some of you had not had a chance to see the sculpture that Sergio Bustamante gave to the university. I just remind you of the story. We were on stage at the Jacob Brown. I asked him if he'd come back and do a lecture. The Mexican consul said, "That's all you're asking him for?" He said, "You need to ask him for more than that. I'm going to ask him for a sculpture." He did. Sergio Bustamante agreed, and he sent this marvelous sculpture that we have moved right outside of the boardroom for you to see tonight. But the reason that it's so important, we haven't had a reception to unveil it yet, because Don Sergio is going to come to campus where we're going to be able to thank him appropriately. But I wanted you to see it tonight because it's going to become the campaign symbol for our music education building. It is the name of the sculpture is called El Centro de Ti Mismo. It's in English, the center of oneself. And it depicts a person being swirled around by another person. And depending on what you see yourself in art, what I see in this particular sculpture is very powerful. It is a momentum that we give each other when we trust and we have confidence. It's a trust we have that if someone is swirling us around, that they'll let us down easily. But it is the strength and energy that comes from the camaraderie, the respect, professional way in which we challenge each other daily on this campus and as you do on this board. It also reflects a circular motion of a whirl and swirl. And so as we were swirling ourselves, worried about how we were going to make tonight happen, creative juices come out in many different ways. If you're a poet, it comes out in poetry. So our Vice President for Academic Affairs, who in a previous life, and obviously still today is a poet, wrote a poem that night. And we all stressed out in different ways, and Chip just writes a poem. And so we are going to use his poem on our Christmas cards, along with the Bustamante. And then again, as it depicts the swirl of our building, that also, as you recall from the motion there, does the same, has the same kind of feel of momentum. So if I may, I would like to read the poem. Or Chip, since the author of the poem is here.
Absolutely, come on, Chip.
Dr.
Come on.
Cameron, I think you should read your own poem. I don't know if he has the last line. This is the last line. Yes.
I haven't had time to memorize this one, but it goes like this. The whirl of the season can send us spinning farther and farther from our center, but those we trust can hold us to our keenest hopes and help us embody the spirit of our swirl.
Thank you, Dr. Downs.
Thank you.
So with that, I will simply thank you for the confidence that you have demonstrated in the many people that helped prepare the package that you approved tonight. Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Thank you.
And again, I also want to thank the board members for this courageous act tonight. It's a historic act tonight. Our cell phones were hot this week. And I'd like to thank Dr. Pearson and Ms. Mendez for allowing us to have briefings and your time in getting this project started, really, because we're just starting. So, again, thank you, Roberto.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosemary. Thank you, Dolly. And thank you, Dr. Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.